Question 1. Which of the following is equivalent to sine squared 5x? Sine squared 5x can be expressed in terms of cos squared 5x using the Pythagorean identity sine squared theta plus cos squared theta equals 1, where theta is equal to 5x. Rearranging the Pythagorean identity to make sine squared theta the subject of the formula, we have sine squared theta is equal to 1 minus cos squared theta. Therefore, the answer is option B. Question 2. The probability distribution table for a discrete random variable x is shown. What is the expected value of x? One way to answer this question is to use the stat mode on your calculator. So press mode, stat, and 1 var, so number 1. And just make sure that the frequency column is enabled. So what I'll do is I'll type in the first column, so 1, 2, 3, so they're the scores, and then the probability that those scores will occur. So 0.6, 0.3, and 0.1. Then press AC, shift 1, and then number 4 var, and then number 2 x bar to get the expected value, and the answer is 1.5, so option C. Another way of finding the expected value of x is to add an xpx column to this table. That's like adding an fx column to a frequency distribution table, where you would have the scores, that's x, and then the frequency, which is f. So you'd have an fx column here. This works in a similar way. So adding an xpx column is calculated the same way as an fx column. So we take the score and then multiply it by the probability of that score occurring. So 1 multiplied by 0.6 is 0.6. 2 multiplied by 0.3 is equal to 0.6. And 3 multiplied by 0.1 is 0.3. And then we take the sum of that column, and that's equal to 1.5. Therefore, the answer is option C. Question 3. Which of the following represents the domain of the function f of x equals ln of 1 minus x? The input to a logarithm function must be positive. Hence, 1 minus x is greater than 0. Solving this inequality for x, we can add x to both sides. We get 1 is greater than x. And rearranging the inequality so that the variable is on the left-hand side, x is less than 1. In interval notation, that's open bracket, negative infinity, comma 1, close open bracket. The answer is option D. Question 7. The number of downloads of a song on each of 20 consecutive days is shown in the following graph. Which of the following graphs best shows the cumulative number of downloads up to and including each day? Looking at the graph that shows the number of downloads per day, the minimum number of downloads occur at day 1 and day 20, and the maximum number of downloads occur at day 10. So we would expect that in the cumulative frequency graph, the change in height between the consecutive days should be minimal between days 1 and 2 and days 19 and 20, and maximum between days 9, 10 and 11. And the option that shows that is option C. So we can see that between days 1 and 2, the change is minimal there. Between days 19 and 20, the change in height is minimal there. But in days 9, 10 and 11, that's where you get the greatest change. So the answer is option C. Question 10. Which of the following best represents the graph of y equals 10 multiplied by 0.8 to the power of x? Two things to consider. Firstly, the y-intercept. We have a choice of 10 or 8. So to find the y-intercept, let x equal 0. So when x equals 0, y equals 10 multiplied by 0.8 to the power of 0, and 0.8 to the power of 0 is equal to 1, and that equals 10. So the two options at the moment are either A or C. So B and D are out. Next, consider the value of the base. Now, because the base is between 0 and 1, this is a decreasing exponential graph going from left to right. So therefore, out of A or C, Option A shows a decreasing exponential graph with a y-intercept of 10. So therefore the answer is option A. Question 6. There are 8 chocolates in a box. 3 have peppermint centers, P, and 5 have caramel centers, C. Kim randomly chooses a chocolate from the box and eats it. Sam then randomly chooses and eats one of the remaining chocolates. A partially completed probability tree is shown. What is the probability that Kim and Sam choose chocolates with different centers? The first step is to complete the probability tree. Now this is a 2-stage probability experiment involving sampling without replacement. Now in the first stage, you can see that the fractions here involve denominators of 8 because there are 8 chocolates in the box to choose from. Once a chocolate is chosen, it's not being replaced, that leaves 7 chocolates left to choose from. And that's why the fractions of the second stage all have denominators of 7. Now we need to determine the numerators of the 4 fractions of the second stage. So if we start off with 3 peppermint centers and 1 peppermint center has been chosen, that leaves 2 left. And if there are 7 chocolates in the box, that means there must be 5 caramel center chocolates in the box there. And likewise, with this branch here, if there are 5 caramel centers to begin with and 1 caramel center chocolate has been chosen, that leaves 4 caramel centers left, and there are 3 peppermint centers still left in the box. Now to determine the probability that Kim and Sam choose chocolates with different centers. So the 2 outcomes that we're interested in is PC, so peppermint caramel, or caramel peppermint. And we get those probabilities by multiplying across or through the branches of the probability tree. So PC, probability of peppermint caramel, is 3 over 8 multiplied by 5 over 7, which is 15 over 56. And the probability of caramel peppermint is 5 over 8 multiplied by 3 over 7, so this fraction here multiplied by 3 over 7, and that's also 15 over 56. So the probability that the chocolates chosen are of different centers, so PC or CP, is equal to the sum of these 2 probabilities, so 15 over 56 plus 15 over 56, and that equals 15 over 28. So the answer is option D. Question 7. The diagram shows part of y equals f of x, which has a local minimum at x equals -2 and a local maximum at x equals 3. Which of the following shows the correct relationship between f double dash of -2, f of 0, and f dash of 3? F of 0 corresponds to the y coordinate at the point where x equals 0, and it's negative. And I've just made that point here. F dash of 3 is the gradient of the tangent at the point where x equals 3, which is this point here. We can see here that this is a stationary point, so f dash of 3 is equal to 0. F double dash of 2 represents the second derivative, and it's at a point where the curve is concave up, which means that f double dash of 2, or the second derivative at x equals 2, is positive. Therefore, the answer is option A. F of 0 is less than f dash of 3, which is less than f double dash of -2. Question 8. The graph of y equals f of x is shown. Which of the following could be the equation of this graph? This is a graph of a polynomial of degree 4. There's a simple 0 at x equals -1, and the shape of the curve around that point resembles a linear function with a positive gradient. There's a triple 0 at x equals 2, and the shape of the curve around that point represents a cubic curve that's been reflected in the y-axis and then translated 2 units to the right. Also, as x approaches infinity, y approaches -infinity, and as x approaches -infinity, y approaches -infinity. And that can be seen by observing the arrows here and here. Therefore, the answer is option C. Question 9. Let h of x equals f of g of x, where the function f of x is an odd function and the function g of x is an even function. The tangent to y equals h of x at x equals k, where k is greater than 0, has the equation y equals mx plus c. What is the equation of the tangent to y equals h of x at x equals negative k? Firstly, the composition of an odd function and an even function in any order results in an even function. This means that the tangent at x equals negative k is a reflection of the tangent y equals mx plus c in the y-axis. And this is done by replacing the x with negative x. So f of x is equal to f of negative x for an even function. Therefore, the answer is option B. Question 10. The line y equals mx is a tangent to the curve y equals cos of x at the point where x equals a, as shown in the diagram. Which of the following statements is true? The coordinates of the point of contact of the tangent y equals mx and the curve y equals cos of x is a, cos of a. That's this point here. Notice that this point occurs before the stationary point where x equals 2 pi. Hence, a is less than 2 pi. Taking the reciprocal of both sides, reversing the inequality symbol, we get 1 over a is greater than 1 over 2 pi, or 1 over 2 pi is less than 1 over a. The next point to consider is that cos of a is approximately equal to 1, but a is less than 2 pi. Now the gradient m is equal to cos of a over a, so that's the y coordinate over the x coordinate, rise over run. Hence, m is greater than 1 over 2 pi. The last point to consider is that cos of a over a is less than 1 over a, since a is less than 2 pi, and cos of 2 pi is approximately equal to 1. So in an inequality, if the denominators are equal, but the numerator, or one numerator, is slightly less than the other numerator, so cos of a is ever so slightly less than 1, cos of a over a, or m, is less than 1 over a. Hence the answer is option B. Question 1. Which of the following shapes has the largest perimeter? The perimeter is the total distance around a shape. Let's consider each of the options in turn. So option A is a square. There are 4 equal sides, each side 8 centimeters, so the perimeter is 8 multiplied by 4, which equals 32 centimeters. Option B is a rectangle. Opposite sides are equal, so the perimeter is 3 multiplied by 2 plus 11 multiplied by 2, and that equals 28 centimeters. Option C is an equilateral triangle. There are 3 equal sides, each side 10 centimeters, so the perimeter is 10 multiplied by 3, which equals 30 centimeters. And option D is a trapezium. There are 2 equal sides, 4 centimeters each, so that's 4 multiplied by 2, plus the base, which is 9 centimeters, plus the top, which is 3 centimeters, and that equals 20 centimeters. So the answer is option A. Question 3. The stem and leaf plot shows the number of goals scored by a team in each of 10 netball games. What is the mode of this data set? The mode represents the score, or the set of scores that occurs most often. With a stem and leaf plot, to find the mode, look for the leaves that repeat the most often, and in this case, it's the number 5. So to read this score, we take the stem, combine it with the leaf, so 2, 5 means that's a score of 25, and that occurs twice. So therefore, the answer is C, 25. Question 5. Peter currently earns $21.50 per hour. His hourly wage will increase by 2.1% compounded each year for the next 4 years. What will his hourly wage be after 4 years? The key word is compounded, so we'll use the compound interest formula to determine Peter's wage in 4 years' time. The future value is equal to present value multiplied by 1 plus r to the power of n. Now the present value corresponds to Peter's current wage, which is $21.50 per hour. So that equals $21.50 multiplied by 1 plus 2.1%, so that's the annual rate of increase, to the power of 4, since it's over 4 years. And 1 plus 2.1% is equal to 1.021. So Peter's future wage, or his wage in 4 years' time, is equal to $21.50 multiplied by 1.021 to the power of 4. So therefore, the answer is option B. Question 6. Suppose A equals B over 7, where B equals 22. What is the value of A, correct to 3 significant figures? Firstly, 22 divided by 7 is equal to 3.142857 and so on. Now, rounding to 3 significant figures is done by starting with the first non-zero digit, which happens to be the 3, and then writing down the first 3 digits including that 3. In this case, it's 3.14. Now, we also need to check the digit after the 4 and check that it's not 5 or more. And if that's the case, then the 4 will need to get rounded up. But it happens to be a 2, so this 4 just remains as a 4. So the answer is 3.14, which is option A. Question 8. On a test, Zach's mark corresponded to a z-score of 2. The test scores had a mean of 63 and a standard deviation of 8. What was Zach's actual mark on the test? Let Zach's actual mark be x. Using the z-score formula, solve for x. 2 equals x minus 63 divided by 8, where the z-score is 2, the mean of the scores is 63, and the standard deviation of the scores is 8. Multiplying both sides by 8, we have 2 multiplied by 8 equals x minus 63. And adding 63 to both sides to make x the subject of the formula, we have 2 multiplied by 8 plus 63 equals x. Therefore, x equals 79. So Zach's actual mark was 79. Therefore, the answer is option D. Question 9. A student is thinking of a number. Let the number be x. When the student subtracts 8 from this number and multiplies the result by 3, the answer is 2 more than x. Which equation can be used to find x? Subtracting 8 from this number and multiplying the result by 3 is equivalent to 3 multiplied by x minus 8. Notice that the x minus 8 is in brackets because that needs to occur first, based on the wording of the problem. Now this is equal to 2 more than x. Now 2 more than x is just x plus 2 in the language of algebra. And these two algebraic expressions are equal. So combining those two, the answer is option C. 3 outside of x minus 8 is equal to x plus 2. Question 12. A block of land is represented by the shaded region on the number plane. All measurements are in kilometers. Which of the following is the approximation for the area of this block of land in square kilometers using 2 applications of the trapezoidal rule? The distance between the parallel sides is 6 kilometers, and the length of each parallel side is 1.2 kilometers, 2 kilometers, and 1.4 kilometers. So applying the trapezoidal rule, we have the area of this block of land is approximately equal to 6 over 2 multiplied by 1.2 plus 2 plus 6 over 2 multiplied by 2 plus 1.4, and the area is approximately 19.8 square kilometers, so the answer is option B. Question 13. The time taken to clean a warehouse varies inversely with the number of cleaners employed. It takes 8 cleaners 60 hours to clean a warehouse. Working at the same rate, how many hours would it take 10 cleaners to clean the same warehouse? Applying the inverse variation formula, 60 is equal to k divided by 8. So we need to determine the value of k. Multiplying both sides by 8 and making k the subject of the formula, we get k is equal to 480. Now this value represents the number of hours it would take one cleaner to clean the warehouse at the same rate. Now that we have the value of k, we can apply the same inverse variation formula to calculate the amount of time it would take 10 cleaners to clean this warehouse at the same rate. T is equal to 480 divided by 10, now that we have the value of k, and 480 divided by 10 is equal to 48. So it would take 10 cleaners 48 hours to clean the warehouse at the same rate. So therefore the answer is option B. Question 14. Consider the diagram below. What is the true bearing of A from B? The key word is from. A from B implies the observer is at point B, initially facing north, and then turning a certain number of degrees around until they face point A. And that number of degrees is the bearing of A from B, which is indicated here by angle Y. So I'm going to draw a north-south axis going through point B. I'm going to extend the axis until it strikes this east-west axis here. This is AE. And you can see that there's a right-angle triangle that's been formed. Now, in order to determine angle Y, I need to determine angle X first. So using the angle sum of a triangle, angle X is equal to 180 minus 90 minus 25, and that equals 65 degrees. Then to get angle Y, we can use the angles at a point add up to 360 degrees, or angles in a revolution add up to 360 degrees. So this angle Y plus angle X equals 360 degrees. So to get angle Y, that's equal to 360 minus 65 degrees, and that equals 295 degrees. So therefore, the answer is option D. Question 15. A total of 11,400 people entered a running race. The ratio of professional runners to amateurs was 3 to 16. All the professional runners completed the race while 600 of the amateurs did not complete the race. For those who completed the race, what is the ratio in simplest form of professional runners to amateurs? The sum of the terms of the ratio is equal to 19. The number of professional runners can be worked out using the unitary method by taking 11,400, dividing that by 19, and then multiplying that by 3, and that equals 1,800. The number of amateur runners is equal to 11,400 minus the number of professional runners, and that equals 9,600. The number of amateur runners who completed the race is equal to 9,600 minus 600, since we're told that 600 amateur runners did not complete the race, and that's equal to 9,000. The ratio then of the number of professional runners to the number of amateur runners who completed the race is equal to 1,800 to 9,000. And simplifying this ratio, that equals 1 to 5. So therefore, the answer is option B.